When people are trying to figure out if Tempe is the right place for them, if it's the right place to live, the most common questions I get asked are, am I going to get overrun by college students from Arizona State University? Can you raise a family here? I'm a business professional. Am I going to enjoy it here? Is it a good location? Now, before I can answer any of these questions, I do have to point out that there are two very different sides of Tempe, Arizona. There is the north side, which is surrounding the Arizona State University. And then on the other hand, we have South Tempe. And on the south side, the culture here isn't nearly as strongly influenced by the university as the north part of Tempe is. There are so many different people that claim Tempe as their home. You have, of course, college students, families, young and older business professionals. You even have retirees coming here. But in order to determine if Tempe is right for you, we really have to point out the differences between the north part and the south part, and also look at the pros and cons of living in either of these areas. So we're gonna break things down by looking at shopping, schools, crime, location, transportation available, and of course we'll look at both rentals and homes to buy. I am Courtney, your local Phoenix realtor, and I am here to provide a transparent and honest viewpoint of what it is like to live in Phoenix Metro. So first, let's look at location and public transportation. So first, we're gonna look at the north part of Tempe, and as I mentioned before, this is the home of Arizona State University. This area of Tempe is definitely more central in the Phoenix metro area, and it is going to be much quicker to get to central Phoenix. You're also right below Scottsdale, so it's easy to enjoy what a lot of Scottsdale offers living in this area as well. You have great freeway access. So you have the 202 and the 101 right at your doorstep here. One thing to note is this highway exchange in this area around the university can get quite congested. It's not Los Angeles congestion, but it still can get quite backed up, particularly during the afternoon rush hour. As with most major university, when you're trying to park around this area of Tempe, particularly the closer you are to campus, parking can be difficult. You're probably paying for a parking spot. The further away you are from the university, Tempe Town Lake, the bars and restaurants, the further you step away from those areas, you are gonna have better luck finding free parking. Now, as far as public transportation, Phoenix Metro doesn't do great. However, around this area in Tempe, it actually does have decent public transportation. You do have the Valley Metro, or our light rail actually comes out from Central Phoenix out this way, and then actually carries all the way out to Mesa. The metro actually goes to the airport as well, which is not too far at all. This area of Tempe is also much more walkable. Now, since the bike lanes are used more frequently in this area than other areas of Phoenix, I would say that drivers are a little bit more aware. You still want to be cautious, particularly at lights and intersections, but overall, it's a little bit easier to bike around this area than other areas of Phoenix or Tempe. Now let's jump to the south part of Tempe. So this area of Tempe is much less congested. You'll see a lot more planned communities, neighborhoods, slightly newer construction as well. The further south you go in Tempe, the less central that you are. Now, if you are on the further south side of Tempe, you have the 101, the 60, and then you also have the 10. Those are the three major highways around you. A lot of people in this area do commute to Phoenix, but it can get a little congested. If you are planning on living in the south side of Tempe, the key to having a shorter commute time is really living as close to one of the major freeways as you can. Sometimes when you're a few blocks away from the highway and when you're driving on those surface streets, it can add quite a bit of time to your commute. In the south part of Tempe, you don't have as much access to public transportation. You really do need a car. I've heard a few people that have relied on the bus system and a couple people that have relied on share rides like Lyft or Uber, but that does add up pretty quickly. So now let's talk about crime. So this is from crimegray.org, and the red indicates that it's a higher crime area, and then as you progress from orange, yellow, and then green indicates that it's a low crime area. It's pretty safe. Now, when you first look at this, you might go, ooh, that's a lot of red. Now, a lot of this crime is property crime. I can promise you, if you look up neighborhoods, the most dangerous neighborhoods in Phoenix, Tempe is not making the list. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There still is a fair amount of crime that happens, particularly on that northern side. And if you look at this breakdown from NeighborhoodScout.com, you can actually see the difference between violent crime and property crime. So for every 1,000 people in Tempe, about 6 are a victim of violent crime. And then it's 45 people per 1,000 people are victims of property crime. Generally, it does get safer the further south you are. However, crime does change from block to block, and you can get a better glimpse of this from NeighborhoodScout.com. Darker the purple indicates just higher crime rate, and the lighter it is indicates just a safer area. And that area around the university you can see is pretty light. And then there's also a neighborhood called Maple Ash directly south of the university. Now, as far as schools, when we look at the school ratings, it does sort of parallel or correlate with the crime rate in Tempe. So what I have pulled up here is from greatschools.org, and this is looking at the public high schools. So you can see the one on the north side, that is Tempe High School, and it received a score of 3 out of 10. And then you can see as you go further south, you have school ratings of 5, and then on the very south end, this is Corona del Sol, and it received a score out of 7 out of 10. The school district on the south side of Tempe is very well known. It's consistently received a lot of good ratings, the school district, so a lot of people do look to live in this area. Now let's talk about shopping. And I will say the north and the south part of Tempe tie on this one. So on the north side of Tempe, you have Tempe Marketplace, and this is a very, very large outdoor shopping center. You have big stores like Target, Total Wines, Nordstrom's Rack, they have an Old Navy. And then in addition to those big stores, those big department stores, you have a area with smaller shops, restaurants, bars. You have Arizona Mills, and this has the largest IMAX theater in Arizona. It has a Legoland. It even has an aquarium. And coming in a few weeks, they are actually setting up this really large indoor pickleball area. So if you want to pickleball in the summer, this is the place to go. And on the south side, we also have the Phoenix Premium Outlet. So this is technically in Chandler, but it really is just around the corner if you live on the south side of Tempe. So now let's talk about housing in Tempe. And we're going to start with rentals and looking at apartments. Now the price of apartments can change drastically depending on where you are. So if you are around campus, particularly around that Tempe Town Lake area, there's a lot more of these luxury high-rise type apartments, and these apartments can be quite expensive. I know some of them can even get into that $3,000–4,000 range. Now, if you're okay with coming a little bit further away from that downtown Tempe area, you might find somewhat of an older apartment, might not be the most updated, but you could find something for, $1,400–1,500. Now, if you're going further south below the 60, you are going to have less options for apartments. There are some apartments out there, but most of the neighborhoods are comprised of either condos or single family homes. Currently, the median rental price for a single family home is around $2,200. But I will say the further south you go, it does get more expensive, particularly on the most southern part of Tempe. It can get up to even like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in this area. Now, if you are buying a home, the median sales price as of 2023 is around $460,000. But this is including condos, apartments, and single family homes. If your price range is around that median sale price, $460,000, there are a few options for single family homes, but you're probably looking at more of that central Tempe area. However, if you are able to push into more the $500–600 range, you are going to have more options available. If you break Tempe down and look at specific zip codes, you will notice that the price changes quite a bit from the very south part of Tempe compared to the rest of Tempe. And that zip code down at the very south end, median sale price in the zip code is $755,000. So it is much more expensive to buy in that area. Now let's talk about entertainment and things to do. And I will say North Tempe definitely wins in this department. The north side of Tempe, particularly around the university, there is so much to offer. Now, if you're curious what the great things to do in Tempe are, please check out this video right here. I talk about all my favorite things to do in Tempe, Arizona, and this is really coming from a local's perspective. Now, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, my contact information is below, and I hope you have a fantastic day.